The Legend of Zelda franchise has been expertly crafted to include some of the best gameplay aspects that puts these games above the rest. The original Legend of Zelda kept the player wandering around a vast world, blind, allowing them to explore at their own pace. A Link to the Past upped the ante on gameplay as everything was more colorful, the world richer, and the characters more fleshed out. Ocarina of Time allowed the Zelda franchise to enter the 3D realm and make the world even bigger than ever. Wind Waker expanded on that concept, reaching further beyond the Great Sea to new heights, and proved that a game could be good despite cartoony appearances. Twilight Princess brought new controls to the Zelda franchise and showed how fun the games could be, while Skyward Sword mastered those controls and blended music, graphics, and story to create a truly great experience. And now a new game is on the horizon. A game that, from its 2-day showing at E3, Nintendo knows exactly what it's doing again. So much so that I wager that the next Zelda will be hailed as an even greater game than Ocarina of Time during its debut. For starters, Breath of the Wild was, for many people, the highlight of E3. For me as well. Nintendo had two main games they were showing off this year, and at least one of them had to be a knockout. Pokemon Sun and Moon are definitely sellers for sure, bringing new content to the Pokemon franchise as usual, but they weren't shown off too much. So off comes Onuma and his team to deliver footage, along with Reggie debuting the first real trailer for the game. And it was literally breathtaking. As the 2 days went on, it became clear to me that Nintendo had control over the whole conference. With lines reaching back to convention doors, Zelda had destroyed the competition. By almost 2 times, in fact, according to a chart created based on social media activity at the time. For the first time since possibly the release of the Wii U, or even the Wii, Nintendo had all eyes on. As shown, gameplay of Breath of the Wild focused heavily on Hyrule being a vast, expansive world, 9 times the size of Skyrim to be exact. Link could cut down a tree with an axe he got from a moblin, or he could use the fallen tree to a ravine to cross it, or he could use the logs to start a fire, use mushrooms and fish he found earlier to create a potion that gives him freeze resistance in tundra-based areas. At this point, Zelda became a survival game, one that puts a lot of emphasis on multiple solutions for different problems. Link, for example, lit a small portion of a field on fire, and the wind carried the fire towards the enemies. In another scene, Link skates down the side of a snowy mountain on a pot-lid shield, while shooting with a bow and arrow. In a different scene, Link fights a guardian on horse, shooting arrows at his foe before jumping in the air and shooting the final arrow into the eye of his opponent. In other words, Nintendo had a major grasp on combat for the Zelda games. At the time, the 3D battles were amazing. Z-targeting was a brand new phenomenon in Ocarina of Time, and the combat felt intense, and Link had to be ready to counterattack his opponents. But it could feel slow, and that's not something modern gamers want in their games, at least unless you're playing Dark Souls. And through footage, the combat feels new, fast-paced, with an emphasis on multiple solutions. So with eyes on Nintendo, the next question had to be, would the game run at a consistent frame rate to accommodate its large world? From the footage, the game tends to slightly dip, but that still mostly ran at 60 FPS or so. And since most people watch via Twitch, the quality of the footage wasn't perfect. And to further make a case for the new game, the NX is just on the horizon. With a big marketing push, Nintendo could really sell 100 million units, like it wanted to with the Wii U, just don't name it the Wii U 2. When Ocarina of Time was released, it changed the way 3D action-adventure games would work for a long time. For example, it can be argued that Ocarina of Time influenced the Dark Souls games. So when it comes to influence, Ocarina of Time is high on the list of the most important games ever to be released. So comparing Breath of the Wild to such a feat of gaming would be difficult, since all we have to go on is the gameplay we got from E3. The world of Breath of the Wild is supposedly 12 times the size of Twilight Princess. Heck, the whole area the demo of Breath of the Wild covered is almost, if not bigger than, the entirety of Twilight Princess's map. And that's something to seriously consider for this new game. Another thing to consider with the new game is how much of that large area will have interesting content. In the 90s, people were blown away by the open world Ocarina of Time had. Hyrule Field also had a few hidden areas, some pose, and the goddamn spinny blade monsters that killed me so many times. Breath of the Wild seems to offer a lot in the forest areas shown in the demo. The developers also confirmed that there will be villages and travelers dotted across the map. In addition to the bosses, this will make the world feel very alive versus Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time, which only had that postman as the pretty much lone NPC. In addition, Ocarina only had Epona as a travel companion, whereas Breath of the Wild seemingly has shield grinding, a stamina meter, a horse, which considering there's more than one, might mean there's more faster ones out there, and teleports. Ocarina of Time had teleports as well, but in Breath, odds are you'll have to discover the location before fast travel is an option. So what about Breath of the Wild's future? Will it be hailed as a masterpiece of gaming, or will it be left to rot like some ambitious titles over the recent years? Frankly, I believe in Nintendo as I always have. With the recent release of Pokemon Go, their stocks have literally grown 25%. With the NX coming next year, with the Breath of Wild, and Pokemon in November, betting on Nintendo might not be so ludicrous as many believe in this mid-decade. If Breath of the Wild is as good as the trailers and gameplay hype set up to be, then I believe Nintendo will dominate the gaming market as it did during the eras of old. That might be some wishful thinking, but it's very possible that Nintendo might have a bigger future than people believe. Because people don't want to be told what to do in games. They want to explore, as good games like Dark Souls have shown us. And Breath of the Wild's very ambiguous start seems to be doing just that, being ambiguous. Because no gaming generation is good without a Zelda game, as the original Legend of Zelda has shown us. Now it's just like a drug, like Pokemon Go. We need our Zelda game, and Breath of the Wild has high ambitions of dethroning its predecessor.